Welcome everybody to yet another Coffee Time with Hako, the show where I have my morning coffee and then I yap off into the void. Well met everybody, it's not really morning, it's more evening, but let's not worry about the details. So, the reason I didn't do it this morning was because I now have access to Ju Fufu on creator servers and I wanted to kind of try her out extensively before I made this video. So that also means that all of my thoughts are from the creator beta servers. I'm sadly not allowed to show you footage from that yet. You will be getting that closer to Ju Fufu's actual release, but I can still bring you my findings. So this is gonna be a first impression video of Ju Fufu after having tried her out a bunch. So what do I think of Ju Fufu? Well, she is great, she is fun, and she's, I don't know, she's cute as all hell, and I really like the energy, the animations, and I think they've done a good job with her. Now, Ju Fufu is an upcoming fire stunner, and this right now that you're seeing is actually on the live servers. If you do the main story, we at several points get to try out Ju Fufu, and we can also read at what she does. She increases crit damage for the team, she increases chain attack damage, she increases ultimate damage. She allows your entire team to have up to 4,000 decibels. An ult still costs 3,000, but that means you can stockpile a little bit. If you pair up with her attack or rupture agent, that agent gets a refund of 300 decibels whenever they use their ultimate. She provides aftershock attacks and off-field chain attacks. So she's a universally good stunner, kinda similar to what Trigger is. And she's extra good being paired up with Yishuan. Now Yishuan, she has 2 ultimates, which means that she can get a refund of 300 decibels for every ultimate she does, which is insanely handy. So even the ultimate that costs technique points, she will get a refund of 300 decibels. And at Ju Fufu's release, Yishuan is gonna be the character that benefits of Ju Fufu the most, although Ju Fufu is generally good in a lot of teams. Now, I plan to test out Ju Fufu extensively with a bunch of different teams, but the teams I've had time to do now, just today, has been mainly Yishuan as a reference point, and seeing how Ju Fufu is very much, Yishuan's character, their faction mates. I mean, she was kind of tailor-made to work absolutely best in slot with her. I thought she's a good reference point, and then in future videos, I'll also do other agents, other teams, and talk about Ju Fufu. And to try out these different teams, I went to Deadly Assault, I went to the Corruption Complex, and I ran a bunch of different teams several times to kind of get an equalized score between all of the teams. And the Corruption Complex is quite nice because he doesn't have too much random bullshit that can make you have to restart just because something happened, and then that makes it not comparable with other runs. So the team I scored the lowest with on him was Yishuan, Paninu, and Astra, where I scored 40,133. And we use this as a base point because this is the lowest I managed to get. And mind you, the gear on Yishuan needs some work. It's a very average gear right now because I just wanted to go in see how is this with average across the board. So is everybody M0, average discs, but with their signature engines. So Yishuan, Paninu, Astra, 40,000. Then I took Yishuan, Paninu, and Ju Fufu. So we switched out Astra in with Ju Fufu. Then we ended up on 42,702, which is 6.4% better. So as a testing, right now she is a better support for Yishuan than Astra is. And that says quite a lot. And that's especially good because, every team kind of needs, whatever you want to call it, needs Astra. Wants Astra. So if you want to be able to free up your Astra for other teams, Ju Fufu can fill the Astra spot excellently. Then I slapped in Yishuan, Trigger, and Astra, and I managed to get 44,968, which is 12% better than when we had Pan instead of Trigger. Now, this boss has a slight advantage to Trigger, compared to Pan, because it is weak to electric, and I do find that having a stunner with Yishuan really does help out. Because a lot of times our resources are kind of ready to go, we have all of the ultimates, but we're only 70% away on the days, so then it's just a little bit cumbersome building up to that days if we are not running a stunner. And let's be real team, that's probably why they didn't, tweak too many old stunners to work with Yishuan, because, they kind of want us to pull for the Beyblade dog tiger girl. And after that, I decided to slap in the best in slot team, which was Yishuan, Ju Fufu, and Astra Yao. That team I managed to get almost 50,000, sharp on, 13 points away, but let's just say 50,000, so a 24% increase from running Yishuan, Paninu, and Astra. And like I said, considering the gear I was running on Yishuan, this was honestly quite impressive. So overall, what's my opinions after like this much testing with Ju Fufu? I think she's a lot of fun. Like a team with Ju Fufu is fun. Like there's quite a lot happening on the screen. The dog is, there with us to attack. Chain attacks happen even outside of stun windows. It's just quite a fun team. Like you start the combat by like dash attacking with Ju Fufu, getting on her dog, spinning into the enemy, and then the dog kind of helps out, and it's a fun team. And especially with Yishuan, like your ult cycling becomes like so much more like fluent. Because if the enemy is only like 50% away from the days bar, well, you can afford to ultimate. Because Ju Fufu refunds you 300 decibels, which is amazing. And if you have both of your ultimates, you get 600 back. And like this honestly helps out. And like I said, she also increases like the max cap of decibels. So all of your teammates can have up to 4,000. Which means that a team like running Ju Fufu, like with attackers or rupture agents, like usually we get our ult up, say 20 seconds or something before a stun window sometimes. Like then we just kind of have to like let all the excessive decibels go to waste. That doesn't happen with Ju Fufu. And that is honestly lovely. And so in terms of like fun and something that I rank like very high whenever like I consider getting characters for my own account, I'd probably put Ju Fufu at like an 8. She's fun, she has fun animations, and it just feels fun to like be able to do your ultimates and like get a slightly like better decibel generation going. So possibly a 7 in terms of fun with other agents, but an 8 together with Yishuan. And now, is she a must pull? Well, in terms of like meta strength of Ju Fufu, she is very like good, she's very universal, and a lot of teams can use her. She's a fire stunner just like Lighter, but Lighter is kind of locked to like being in fire and ice teams. Ju Fufu doesn't have that same restrictions, although she does nothing for anomaly teams, while Lighter can still work in fire and ice anomaly teams as well. Ju Fufu is very much just she works with attackers and she works with rupture agents, or attacker and rupture teams rather. And if your account is lacking any sort of like premium stunners, like say Trigger, Lighter, or maybe Xingyi, I think her pull priority goes up by a bit. She is the best in slot for the strongest or joint strongest character in the game, which is Yishuan. Now at the current state with Yishuan, even if you're rocking a very free to play engine, Yishuan, she doesn't need the help because she's so ridiculously strong just as she is like base kit. But if you're sat there with an M0 Yishuan and like you're wanting to like go deeper into her, like you want to power her up, I think picking up one Ju Fufu might be wiser than like either Yishuan's engine and definitely like M1. Ju Fufu is such a big boost to Yishuan, and she kind of shakes up how Yishuan like plays, which I do like. But proper testing of all of that will commence in like the upcoming days, and I'll test it more thoroughly. This is more, I played her for a few hours now in like hard endgame content, like dead assaults, and like what's my opinions of her. And there's a very high chance, or there's a certainty that I'm not using her to 100% of her potential yet, because I'm still learning her. So chances are that these numbers with like Fufu will be cranked up like even more once I fully learn to master her. Now, there is one thing I want to touch upon, and it is regarding her core passive. So whenever Ju Fufu launches chain attack suppressing Tiger Cauldron, which is like her off-field chain attack that just happens once she's stacked up enough might, the entire squad benefits of extra crit damage. Now at max core skill, this gives base kit 20% crit damage, and when Ju Fufu's initial attack is greater than or equal to 2,800, every additional 100 attack further increases crit damage by 5%. Up to a maximum of an increase of 30%. So 20 base and every 100 above 2,800 will give us 5% more, up to 30% more. Which means to cap this buff out, we need to give Ju Fufu 3,400 attack. Her main stat on her engine is attack, because getting the 3,400 is kind of a big ask, especially when not a single stun engine in the entire game provides attack as a main stat, other than some B-rank engines, and then it's not worth it. Now, what we can do to try and like reach this threshold anyway is to tank basically all other stats and just focus on attack. And if we run her attack 4, attack 5, and attack 6 like main stat, it is doable, although she's a stunner, so like naturally she wants impact on 6. But if we only care about the buff, attack could work. And if we just take a look at a stunner like that I have, like let's just say lighter. My lighter is pretty like well built, and he doesn't even reach the point where it starts scaling. Obviously, we can change some stuff around. This, instead of being crit rate, we could switch this to be attack, for example. And now, just for the sake of showcasing, I'm putting him on like very good discs that doesn't necessarily make sense. We're just after the substats and such. And if we take a little bit of a look now with attack 6, 5, 4, we almost max out the buff if this were on Ju Fufu. I think he has slightly higher base attack, so it would hit the mark. And then we also reach over 50% crit rate. Now, in doing so, we need some god luck on the stats. And preferably it doesn't look like this. Preferably it's a 4-piece King of the Summit, which very much is like Ju Fufu's fought out set from the depths. So TLDR, we kind of have like another lighter situation, where in order to max out the buff, you need a specific engine. Although in Lighter's case, there are other engines in the game that like can allow you to do this. Meanwhile, it's a lot harder to for Ju Fufu to reach this. Then again, arguably, like maxing out 30 crit damage is less, important than maxing out 75% ice or fire damage. So I don't want to overblow like how important it is, maxing this one out, because at the end of the day, it is a bunch of crit damage, and there's a lot of her kit that like doesn't scale with how much attack she has. But I consider it kind of a duty to like at least make people aware of this, so you can make a more informed decision. But right now, she's a solid, like, universal good stunner. There you have it, everybody. That's my first initial impressions of Ju Fufu, and a lot more Ju Fufu videos is to follow. So stay tuned for that, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, Hako out, and have a big eye. Until next time.
I wish that you could just take it easy. Lay back, fast the way I roll. So get off my tail, or else you will get to say hello to my darling sharks. Got up, like, don't you know? To none. Ooh, ooh, ooh.